Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to be making a video on Michael Clay Thompson. Someone requested to see how I implement it in our homeschool. So I think there are a lot of Michael Clay Thompson flip-throughs out there, so I'm not going to so much do a flip-through of just kind of how I use it. So first, I want to talk about so I've done half of level 1 with my 10-year-old. She started in 3rd grade. She's now in 4th grade, which is the Grammar Island. My thoughts on Michael Clay Thompson to begin with is I think this program is really, really overpriced for what you get. Each of these books is, I think, over somewhere between $15 and $30. Practice books are usually cheaper. You can get a digital version of the books, which is cheaper than a hard copy of the books. So that is nice, and I did that with one of the books. I bought my set used off eBay for $70. There are a lot of people that sell them used, which helps because, again, I think if you buy the full curriculum brand new, it's almost $200–300. I don't remember, but that's ridiculous. So that being said, I bought a set used, but it did not come with the readers at the end. So I bought these again off eBay used for $20. So for the entire first set, I spent $90-something, which is completely doable. I would not recommend buying it new, but the problem with buying it used is you don't get an implementation guide or how to actually use these books. Now, luckily, there is a Facebook group. It's the Michael Clay Thompson Facebook group. And in the documents file on that Facebook group, there are people who have put together kind of lesson plans and how to work through it and gives you examples of what to do. But Michael Clay Thompson, the company, does not sell just the implementation guide. You only get that if you buy a full package. Another reason I'm not too much of a fan of the company, but again, I buy it used, so it's within my budget. I use an implementation guide I found on the Facebook site to be kind of a guide of how to use it. So those are my initial thoughts with it. Also, I do not think like I said, I started this with my 10-year-old in 3rd grade, and we are still working through it in her 4th grade year. It's very quick and easy, and I like that, and I'll show you how that works. But I know they came up with a younger version of that, Poodle level, where I think it's for, K through 2nd or something. My opinion, I don't think it's necessary. My daughter was completely fine starting off in 3rd grade in this. I really don't think you need a lot of grammar, in my opinion, before 3rd, 4th grade. So I think starting out this level, 3rd, 4th grade, is completely fine. So I'm going to turn you around and show you kind of how I use this in our homeschool. So like I said, I use this with my 10-year-old. We started when she was in 3rd grade, 9. So this is her kind of schedule for the week. And you can see here, and I've talked about this in previous videos, I'll link our schedule up above as well, but she has Michael Clay Thompson Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So what does that mean? We used to have All About Spelling 2 days a week, and we did Michael Clay Thompson 3 days a week. But because she's done with All About Spelling level 2 now, and I don't feel a need to put her into the 3rd level, I just gave her an extra day of Michael Clay Thompson. So she does this 4 days a week, and it's really quick, probably 15–20 minutes, and I'll show you how. This is the first book you get, the Grammar Island. This is the student copy. Another thing about Michael Clay Thompson is there's a teacher copy and a teacher manual and a student copy. I would recommend just buying the teacher manual, except for this. This is the problem you're going to have. All the other books, they work fine if you just use the teacher manual. But the Practice Island, the teacher manual, it's pretty much just sentence analysis practice. The teacher manual has all of the answers. So if you plan on writing every single one of these sentences out for your child to do, that's completely fine. I was not willing to do that, so I'm glad the level I got actually came with the student copy. That way I don't have to write every sentence out. So that is the first thing I would say, but other than that, you can get away with just getting the teacher's manual. This is the student copy because a friend is actually using the Grammar Island right now. But I did want to show you a couple things that I really like about this program. So all this level goes through is this: parts of speech, parts of a sentence, phrases, and clauses. That's it. So what I really like is, so this would be part 1, how it talks about grammar, how it's just words we use. And the great thing is, you only have to learn 8 kinds of words to understand grammar. I really like how they split that up: noun, verb, pronoun, adjective, interjection, preposition, adverb, conjunction. Once you know that, you're set. And some people will ask, why is it important to know these things? Why is it important to know what all these are? To write a really well-written sentence, you have to understand how these things interact with each other, where the placement of that, why it matters. And it's done in a way that makes it easy for the child to understand. This program approaches grammar and writing in a very different way than I've seen many programs, and I could see that easily not working with a lot of kids. But if your child's the type it works with, it's a great fit. So one thing I like is how it describes just the basic parts of speech. So for example, a lot of us here, noun names a person, place, or thing. Adjective describes a noun. So what I really like here is it talks about how adjectives adjust or modify them. What does it mean to modify? It means to change something. So how was the boat? The boat was big. How was the boat? The boat was red. How was the boat? It was a sailboat. So it goes over the explanation of it and it gives your child examples of it. I really like how they highlight the adjective in a different color than the noun. So it's a visual reminder of this is what part of speech this is. So I like aspects like that. I feel like a lot of grammar with noun, adjectives, verbs is just, okay, name what they are in the sentence, but you don't necessarily understand how they interact with each other or why they're important in the sentence. So again, here, verbs show action, and it goes through examples, and this is one of the examples I wanted to show. So within Michael Clay Thompson, they have a lot of kind of like paragraphs or stories that kind of explain this. So they are kind of outside the box, and I can see why some kids wouldn't like this, but my daughter really does. So you just talked about parts of speech here: verb, noun, adjective, all that. So you go over this story, which there was a little action verb called mew. Mew was looking for a noun to be about. So she was looking for a noun. So she goes to bear. Can bear be her noun? No. Can whale be her noun? No. Can crow be her noun? No. So she gets down the story. Who can be her meow? A meow. A kitten can be her meow. So you see how they connect that meow would be modifying kitten. So again, I wanted to show this example because it's very outside the box, but if it clicks so well. And these kind of stories are throughout, so it does have these fun little things like the Grammar Island Story Maker. So again, understanding this is the basic form of a sentence right here. So they can make their own sentences. Yes, a grumpy frog ate happily under the wave. So whatever you do, they all work together. So if you understand the basic structure of a sentence, and you understand parts of speech, you will understand how to make a well-written sentence. So that is something she enjoyed. So we had part 2, parts of a sentence. So subject, predicate. I know I've seen a lot of grammar workbooks, things like sentence diagramming. And I think the way Michael Clay Thompson does, and I'll show that when we get to Practice Island, does it is just makes a lot more sense than sentence diagramming in my opinion. So it goes over action verbs and linking verbs in this one. And again, it gives you that examples. So the next one will be phrases. Now when we got to this, we did have to take a pause on it because we attempted a couple pages of this and it just was it was over her head at that point. So I think this was probably the end of 3rd, maybe beginning of 4th grade, we got into this and she got it a lot better. Prepositional phrase, understanding it. So it does do a bit of a jump here, and it gives you good examples. And throughout it will have activities or story makers, things like that to do. And then it ends, at least Grammar Island, ends with clauses. So think about independent, compound sentences, things like that. Goes over it. It's explained really well. And then in the back, it does have some activities that you can fill out. Again, this is, instead of sentence diagramming, this is sentence analysis, which I think is a lot more helpful. I did print this out for my daughter. The abbreviations of everything, just so she can remember what to write, so you don't have to write noun, verb every time, pronoun, conjunction. But again, understanding that, subject, predicate, finding your subject and your predicate, finding your action verb. Is it a direct object, indirect object? Is it a prepositional clause? So, how we utilize this is very simple. I simply read 3 or 4 pages, depending on, the day. And I did print one of the implementation guides off from that website, and it goes through and talks about what to do for Grammar Island. And some of them are supposed to be intermingled. Some you can just go from one book to the other. It's really up to you how you want to handle it. So we did all of Grammar Island first. And again, I would just read 3 or 4 pages. If it had an activity on the page, we do that activity. If it didn't, we just keep going and going. And there was no pressure for her. There was no, you have to do this worksheet with it. It was just reading it and discussing it, which worked really well for her. So the next book we did was Practice Island, which is literally just practicing everything you learned about doing sentence analysis. So by the end of Grammar Island, you should be able to do this entire thing. You should be able to go through and name every part of speech, subject, predicate, action, verb, direct object, indirect object, prepositional phrase, simple or compound. My daughter understands what each of these are, how they interact with each other, and how is that helping? Well, with her IEW, it's really elevated her writing. So understanding grammar isn't just understanding the grammar rules, but understanding how they interact with each other to be able to write. If you understand the basic form of a sentence, you can write a well-written sentence. And if you understand the rules, then it makes it easier to, for example, like run-on sentences, commas. That stuff comes into play with all of it. So she does what she does with her schedule now is she has a 4 times a week. So 3 times a week she will get and again, I just photocopy these and label them what week they're on. I will photocopy these. She will do 3 of these a week. And then we'll just read a couple pages from the book. So she'll do 3 sentence analysis, so 1, 2, and then another page, 3 of these a week. And then what we're currently working through now is Sentence Island, and then we will just read a couple pages out of this. And that's it. That's how we've always done it. Read a couple pages, do an activity. This goes through parts of a sentence, so here we go. And Mud is a fish, as you can see here. Is he out? No, he's not on here. He makes an appearance in the book. And Mud goes and talks to all these other animals on an island to learn the different parts of speech. Oh, here's Mud. That is Mud the fish. So he goes through, and you can see in the teacher copy, they will have these little blue boxes of information for you. So it just goes through Mud meeting these different animals that explain different things. Just like the first book, it will have these activities spread throughout. There are also activities to do in the back of the book. It also gives you writing activities, different things like that. What's really nice is it will give you kind of a overview of what a chapter was about. So chapter 6 was about sentences, points to emphasize. So these are things that you really want to make sure were covered well and your child understands. And again, you could follow the implementation guide you find online, or you can just flip to it. What I do is once we finish a chapter, we go to the back and go through to make sure we understand everything that chapter was about. So again, it will have your answers in the teacher manual here. I feel like a lot of grammar curriculums just tell you the definition of things like noun, verb, adjective, linking verb, action verb, but you don't really understand what that means. So I think Michael Clay Thompson does a really good job explaining in depth what those things mean and why they're important and how they're connected, much more than in sentence diagramming. In Lightning Literature, my daughter did sentence diagramming. It didn't really help at all, but this has really made a difference. And now that she's, you know, gotten really pretty good at writing, this has also helped, because when she's writing a sentence, she'll say something like, okay, I need an adjective. So I tell her to find the noun in her sentence. So I will tell her to find the noun in her sentence and put an adjective on it. Or if she's looking for an adverb, okay, find your verb in your sentence and add an adverb. So again, these are some of the activities you can do. So there's very little pressure. It's just reading a couple pages, maybe doing an activity, and that's it. But again, like I said, it's outside the box of what you normally will see, and it works or it doesn't work. I don't think there's really any in between. It really depends on your child. I remember first looking at Michael Clay Thompson, not really understanding it, but going through it, it's pretty easy. And again, this is everything she has pretty much learned so far, and she's able to, we just go through this and discuss it, and she's able to pick out the words that she needs to. It goes through a lot of these too, which I like, that which is the better written sentence. So we are going through that, and again, all we do, couple pages, maybe she does 3 writing sentence analysis a week. 1, 2, 3. Read a couple pages 3 days a week. That's it. That's all we do for Michael Clay Thompson. Now, I'm sure there is probably a more in-depth way to implement it, but we don't. Like, this is something we're going through slowly, and it's really intermingling well with things like Lightning Literature, which is just very basic review of grammar. This does not cover anything like punctuation, at least in the levels I've gone through. So that is one of the reasons we still keep Lightning Literature around, is because this does a very good job talking about, you know, parts of a sentence, parts of speech, things like that, but it's not covering the basics of punctuation, capitalization, things like that. So Lightning Literature covers that. This goes into grammar and how to write a well-written sentence. Bring in IEW for composition. It just melds perfectly together, and my daughter's able to take her thoughts, put them down in a sentence, understand how those words are interacting with each other, which is the whole point. So next up, we will be doing, when we finish this, we'll start Music of the Hemispheres, which is poetry. So I'm excited to dive deeper into that. Lightning Literature does cover poetry, but not very much in depth, so I'm curious to see how this goes. And then after that, we will do the kind of readers that go for it. And I haven't really looked at these at all. We haven't gotten close to the level. I know there is a parent manual that kind of goes over how it's supposed to work, but we will finish this and then move into that. And that's pretty much how I go. Once I finish a book, I move into the next book. Occasionally I'll look at the implementation guide to see, you know, if I should be combining other things. But right now we are just reading a couple pages of Sentence Island. She does her sentence analysis. She'll continue to do sentence analysis until she finishes this book. So she is right here. So 36, so it goes all the way up to 100. So she's not even halfway through this. So she will continue to do this while we work through this book. And then after that, we'll work through this book. And then after that, we'll work through this book. There's no set schedule for me. We just pick it up on those designated days and do what's next. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's not worksheet heavy. It's very grab and go, and I think it does a really good, thorough job explaining how grammar works. So if you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, thank you for watching.